Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Kaylee. I'm an organizer with the Party for Socialism and Liberation, and today is an International Day of Action for Gaza. Boycott, divest, sanctions!
End the occupation!
Woo! Next, please join me in welcoming Neil Penn. Neil is a licensed family therapist, longtime member of Beit Tikkun Synagogue, which has stood for Palestinian rights and freedom for over 2 decades. Give it up for Neil.
Thank you so much for being here today. On behalf of the Jewish Ceasefire Network congregations, we agree with everything the doctor had to say. We know that this is well documented by credible organizations such as Amnesty International, Doctors Without Borders, Human Rights Watch, and various UN organizations. You're a well-informed crowd, so speaking here in a brief period of time is a lot like trying to put the ocean in a teacup. What I'm going to speak on is the insidious doublespeak of claiming anti-Semitism to challenge what is despicably war crimes and genocide. To start with, Holocaust survivors, their children, and their grandchildren in major metropolitan cities throughout the world are protesting against this and proclaiming, "Not in our name." It means for everybody. Since the 80s, despite the illegitimate voice of AIPAC, the majority of Jewish Americans supported a two-state solution and were opposed to the horrific things that were going on. Well, AIPAC illegitimately claims this is about safety and all the other nonsense. The truth of the matter is this is a deep violation of not just international law and morality, but of the basic tenets of Judaism. Our core narrative is that God force intervened in history and took us out of slavery in Egypt. Among our Jewish sages and mystics, that's referred to as the redemption that will bring forth the greater redemption. The greater redemption is justice for everybody, or in neo-Marxian terms, being an internationalist. The truer faces of what Jewish American values are is the journalist Amy Goodman, who was the granddaughter of a Jewish mystical rabbi, Noam Chomsky, who was the son of a Talmud scholar, and everybody's favorite, Bernie Sanders. Okay, so two questions remain. Who is spinning these lies, and what is the motive behind it? There are three main prongs. One, AIPAC, which is a spokesperson for the most insidious right-wing policies in Israel. Two, the U.S. military-industrial complex. Why? Because war is good for business, and all the military aid that's given to Israel is prefixed that it must be spent on Lockheed Martin and other war-mongering, war-profiting American companies who then use their proceeds to back the elections of right-wing politicians, and it becomes full circle. It is a shame. The other reason why the U.S. military is backing Israel is because since the Monroe Doctrine in the early 1800s, the U.S. always wanted to establish a regional power to do the bidding of their corporations. Case in point, despite there being no evidence whatsoever that the nuclear energy in Iraq was military grade and was only being used for power plants, still under propaganda. Other things were said, and the U.S. Air Force, under the wink and nod of the U.S. military, bombed these plants. We all remember at the start of the Iraq War that our journalists were talking about weapons of mass destruction. They were disputing the fact that UN inspectors said there was absolutely no evidence of this, and even after the invasion, there was nothing found. Propaganda and doublespeak is insidious, and it must be challenged. In contemporary times, the way of weaponizing false anti-Semitism by the same right-wing groups who had no problem with Musk giving a Hitler salute at one of their meetings, but somehow that wasn't anti-Semitism, instituted something called Project Esther, which is the illegitimate child of Project 2025. In it, under bogus language of protecting Jews from anti-Semitism, etc., its real mission is to curtail dissent, to weaponize the immigration services so that courageous truth-tellers such as Mohammed Ali or Reza Ostfik face serious consequences for telling the truth. Prior to that was something called the Canary Mission, which it was a parallel to when the right wing was doxing abortion doctors to try and curtail them from providing services. Canary Mission does the same thing. And by the way, there is no major Jewish organization that had ever supported this type of curtail of dissent. So then we get to the last point, which is what do we do now? Divestments, boycotts, and dissent is always a good idea. If you visit the American Friends Service Committee website, they will give you a listing of all the U.S. companies, such as Caterpillar, and ones that didn't occur to you, such as GM, that are war profiteers. They need to be called out in the court of public opinion. The way to stay informed is by visiting the websites of Code Pink, If Not Now, and Jewish Voices for Peace. The third strand is we now have 100 Congress people who signed on for the Block the Bomb, and we need to keep full court press. And last, supporting the legal work of Center for Constitutional Law, American Civil Liberties Union, and others that are defending persons who have been unjustly targeted. So in closing, the cry that has been going on since the Iraq disaster was not in our name, not in our name, not in our name.
Thank you. Dude.
End apartheid, stop the crimes. Israel out of Palestine. End apartheid, stop the crimes.